My life is probably marked by the incredible rejection that I had from my mom. From the time I was born, my mother always told me that she never wanted me, and there was never any love. I don't have any memory of her ever telling me that she loved me or that I was special in any way, and I certainly couldn't do anything right. I was the fourth of 5 children, and the older siblings seemed to live a very different life than I did. I always categorized my life as Cinderella. That's exactly how I felt, sitting in the ashes, doing the work while they played and had fun. So as a little kid, that was really hard for me to process and understand. And we were part of a small country church, and my parents were, and our family was looked at as model family with all kinds of talents that were admired, and they were done perfectly. And so we were expected to do what we did in public with great perfection, and our home was riddled with just anger. There weren't kind words in our home. My mother was a very angry person. My father was extremely kind but very passive. So I never felt protected at all in our house. And I was probably about 16 years old, and we had a new pastor come to the church, and I thought, I'm going to give a shot at sharing my pain and where I'm at. And it was just totally dismissed because everybody saw our family as this wonderful model Christian family, and I knew it wasn't. So I began this pattern of learning to internalize my pain because I never had a voice. There was no one that would listen. The places that I should have been able to listen didn't seem safe, and they certainly didn't validate what I was feeling. So I had no one that was safe, I had no place that was safe, and I had no voice. And I just started to learn to push down all the pain. I began to dream about marrying somebody that would be kind. That was my only prerequisite for a partner in life, was someone that would be kind to me. By the time I was 19, I had met that person, and I married him, and life was good for probably 10 years. And 10 years into that marriage, he was confessing multiple affairs to me, and you could have blown me away with a feather. I mean, I had no clue about it. It was so out of the blue, and I thought, where do I go? Where do I talk to somebody about this? I tried people in the church, and they didn't want to hear it. They wanted to blame me for my husband's sin. And so again, I went underground with my pain. And it was probably 10 years later. We were now in a different church as a couple. And I went to the pastor, and he validated some of my pain, and he listened to some of the hurts from my childhood, and I was able to deal with the horrific hatred that I had toward my mother. And it began to bring some relief. And as I talked, I had a safe place to talk and start to work through some of my grief. I started to feel like a whole person, and God opened opportunities for me to start in ministry in a lay way and help other people, and it was very rewarding, and God was healing me in the process. And I walked through lots of issues of loneliness and worthlessness, and it felt good to start to feel better and not feel like I had up until that point just incredible thoughts of suicide because I just thought I was worthless, and what was the point? 16 years after the initial confessions of adulteries, and really working a lot on our marriage, and a lot of healing happened. We were in a position of being pastor in a church, and we were serving. We were both serving, and in different capacities. My husband had a very public affair in the pastorate with another person on staff. It caused incredible devastation to the church, incredible devastation to our family, but the scope of that devastation in my life was the fact that really that had been the first safe place in my life, the first place I'd really ever had a voice, and overnight it was gone. It was a crushing blow to me. I couldn't believe that it was happening. I remember crying out to God and saying, I feel so used. And I remember him saying, I thought you wanted to be used. And of course, it wasn't the way I wanted to be used. And he asked me very clearly, are you willing to be used in this capacity? I said yes. It was painful for the next 10 years because most of the people that I had been in relationship in that body had withdrawn from me. Many of them were just in so much pain themselves. They had no idea how to minister to me. But it was very, very hard 10 years as far as the relationships that I had forged for the first time in my life, really. That were safe. It was probably 10 years after that I was approached. We were both approached to come to a Living Waters and be participants. We had no idea what Living Waters was, and it was being held in the same body where my husband had fallen. So I thought, I don't know. I just don't know if this is going to do any good, and I really don't know if it's going to have any value, but what do I have to lose? And maybe it's a place to reconnect, but I really didn't think it would be, but I was willing to give it a shot. I did find a place to reconnect. I found a place of healing in Living Waters that was totally different than anything I'd ever experienced, because for the first time in my life I understood that the blood of Christ was shed for the wounds in my life. And He started that process 5 years ago. He's continuing that process and making me a new person from the inside out in ways that I didn't even dream were possible. So I just really praise God for what He's done. He's been faithful even when others weren't faithful. He has never left my side. And I look forward to the journey that's ahead of me.